For many years before the opening up of China, Hong Kong was the Asian version of the film The Fast and the Furious. Financial institutions flocked here, a place where fortunes were made. But now the competition is fierce. China over there, Singapore over there, Dubai and others. So what's the big picture for this small but teeming island? The answer may surprise you.
You look at where Hong Kong is being situated, right? It's in the heart of Asia, right outside of China. And with China continued economic growth and wealth creation, there's definitely the possibility for Hong Kong to become the number one financial center globally.
Throughout its vibrant and varied history, some things have never changed about Hong Kong.
Hong Kong will always have a distinction being a more of an international city. It's where you can see a very diverse crowd. So it's a very dynamic city. It's kind of like being in London, being in New York, being in Tokyo. It's a world city, in a single location.
Spoken like a true Hong Kong person.
Indeed.
You do love this place.
I definitely love this place.
Few people know this city better than this man.
There's the other two buildings. And there's one with the grey glass and the one next to it. So that's the one that I live.
John Lee is Hong Kong born and bred.
Smack it down and say action.
Action.
That's good. It's really good. As Vice Chairman, Managing Director, and Head of Greater China Global Banking at UBS, he is one of this city's success stories. John, thanks for joining The Big Picture. Now, we are here with the privilege of looking at one of the best views you'll ever get of this historic city. How much do you love Hong Kong?
Hong Kong is by far my most favorite city. I was born in Hong Kong, I grew up in Hong Kong, and I've spent my entire 30 years career in Hong Kong. And Hong Kong, as you know, is the financial center of Asia, and obviously it's an international gateway for China as well.
It just regained the mantle of being the number one financial hub for Asia. Why did that happen?
Well, Hong Kong has always been a very important financial capital, right? But in the past few years, given the overall sort of slowdown in China economy, the financial markets also have been affected in China and Hong Kong, right? But during the past year, we have seen a very clear sign of a gradual recovery of the China economic conditions. And this actually has supported the overall financial markets in Hong Kong. And I'm very pleased to say that this year, Hong Kong has returned to be one of the top financial capital centers globally.
Is its aspiration to be the top in the world, to have the number one spot at some point?
Yes, of course. Right?
Really?
I mean, for us, right, Hong Kong, we always aspire to be one of the top financial markets globally, not just in Asia. And it's across different segments, right? And in fact, there were discussions about Hong Kong potentially being the largest private bank capital globally as well, because currently Switzerland is the largest private banking market globally. But with the growth of Hong Kong private banking market, there are forecasts that Hong Kong will surpass Switzerland at some point to be the biggest private bank market globally.
You see that as realistic?
Of course.
In a city that may soon overtake Switzerland as the biggest private bank market on earth, it may seem a little ironic that the bank John works for is Swiss. But dig deeper and there's a deeper truth. Hong Kong, for UBS, is almost like its second home. To be honest, it feels like UBS is pretty much part of the fabric of this town. You can't go far without seeing some signage or...
Yeah, I see a lot of UBS logos around Hong Kong, right? As you can see, we have the biggest outdoor signage of UBS across the Victoria Harbour. As you know, we've launched a new global campaign, Banking is Our Craft. This shows you how committed UBS is in Hong Kong. And in fact, in 2026, we'll be moving to a new headquarters in Hong Kong, in West Kowloon, in which all our employees will be in one single building with a UBS logo on the top, of course, right, to facilitate all our more than 3,000 employees that we have in the city.
That's a sign of your confidence in the city?
Of course, right? I mean, if we are not confident in Hong Kong, we'll not invest so much in Hong Kong, and particularly moving to a new headquarters to, with over 200,000 square feet of space.
Well, I've got to say, I'd be a little sad losing that view, though.
You will still see that view.
You've done well.
Thank you.
This is no ordinary bank. UBS looks after over $2.5 trillion of clients' money. And those clients? Well, let's just say that 50% of the world's billionaires have an account. Why do the world's billionaires choose this bank to bank with?
Well, I think it's really our reputation, okay, and our track record, right? And obviously the leadership team that we have, right, that provide the confidence for our clients.
I gather you've just done a big deal. This bank has just done a big deal. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Right. During the past few weeks, we have done a number of transactions. The most recent one is the $5 billion equivalent bond transaction for Alibaba. We've also done a 4.5 billion Hong Kong IPO for Midea, as well as the IPO for China Resources Beverages.
Does that say that investor confidence is on its way back up?
Yes, I'm pleased to say that although we are not fully back up to where it was in our peak in 2021, we're definitely on the right track forward. Since September, particularly, when the Chinese government, released a number of economic stimulus measures that actually make a very dramatic difference in terms of the investment tone and the investment view in terms of investing, in Hong Kong and in China. And since then, we have seen a very strong recovery of the financial markets in Hong Kong.
You seem like a bloke who's buoyant about the opportunities ahead.
Yes, certainly.
It's not just finance keeping Hong Kong on track. Glittering high-rise may be the city's legendary selling point, but the grittiness of what's happening down below also deserves attention. You see, there are other reasons for Hong Kong's resilience and resurgence, including the world's greatest metro.
Hong Kong, by far, I must say, not being biased, but having the most efficient and the best metro system globally. The way the Hong Kong metro is being operated, okay, and the way it is being connected to every single location across the Hong Kong metropolis is amazing. By far the cheapest among any metros in the world. So in terms of what you're paying for and what the service and the quality that you get is by far, in my view, the best.
Which brings us to this man.
We have consistently been able to deliver services at a 99.9 reliability and on-time performance. This is the motto of MTR. Our purpose is to keep cities moving.
You are Mr. Metro.
I will not say that. We are very humble.
Meet David Tang.
That's it. And
Action.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
David is the man who not only got Hong Kong moving, but my hometown too. In August last year, Sydney saw its rail network supercharged, and David Tang was front and centre. Well, thanks for joining the big picture. I'm going to say one thing first. I am an unabashed fan of the new Sydney Metro. I love it. Not the only person. Nation-building project as far as I'm concerned. You went out there for the opening?
Yes, to ride on the first train with all the railway fans, the minister, the senior management of Sydney Metro. Truly, it was an amazing experience. And on that day, truly, I think in Australia and Sydney, the citizens and all the railway fans and the general public received a big gift, something that transformed their daily lives.
How does it change people's lives? How is it transformative?
We added big capacity to cross the harbour, and also we are introducing fully automatic trains, and we were running them at 4 minutes headways.
Their financial model is smart and successful. It's called Rail Plus Property. How does the Rail Plus Property model work? How does that work in changing cities?
The Rail Plus Property model started as a funding model. Unlike all the other countries around the world, Hong Kong, when it started in the 1970s, they tried to solve a very major traffic problem, getting people across our harbour Similar to Sydney, we needed tunnels, roads, and in the end, rail was the solution. But because of the sheer high cost of building the railway, government were trying to find an alternative way of doing it. So MTR adopted this rail plus property model, whereby we are given the development rights of land around our railway stations along the rail corridor. Now, in this way, if you imagine, government does not need to delve into the public purse, and they're able to grant you land which today is not worth very much, because without the railway, it is not accessible.
Yeah.
But once the railway is there, the land becomes accessible and then the value goes up. So therefore, MTR is able to capture that value gain and use that money to fund the railway construction, railway maintenance, and to keep our fares low.
But there's a benefit. So you mentioned plus community, and that is where I want to go. Because you have the opportunity not only to put in the railway stations and retail, but also accommodation. And suddenly these big sprawling cities don't have to be so sprawling anymore, and people can come in and they got all the benefits of being closer to work, closer to the things that they're interested in, and they're living there. Is that how it is?
It is. I would actually say all the railway stations now that we build the new railway lines, in fact, they are now a little community on its own.
Right.
It develops around our station. As we go down these escalators here, you will now see our railway station. So the railway station concourse and the shopping mall are here together. Like a day like today, it's raining outside.
Yep.
But actually, you don't need to go outside to access our railway.
There
So
it is
we
over
go
there.
all the way, from the shopping mall down here, and then immediately we are seamlessly integrated with the railway line.
And accommodation here as well?
Indeed. So if we climb those escalators in a minute, I can go undercover and show you what we do. So now you're still standing in your railway station, but once you're here, you look at what we have. This is the Civic Square.
Yep.
This tower you're looking at is a 100-story tall office building. It houses many of our financial services industry here in Hong Kong. With, if you look on the other side, this is the residential building
Yeah.
where people, they all live here.
With, if you look over that side, the railway station.
That's the railway station, and they also have a shopping mall that serves their everyday needs.
Yes.
We also, apart from shopping mall and residential, we have community services, we have daycare center, we have kindergartens, we have schools. They are all built like a mini community around the railway station. And these are enabled because we do have the railway that we can bring and send away so many people. Then we're able to build and integrate all these facilities within one piece of land if you look at the vertical integration. If you look at Australia, it is not too dissimilar to Hong Kong in a way.
Right.
The large majority of your population in Australia lives within maybe a half an hour journey from the coast.
Yep.
Right? Not many people in the middle. So therefore, making land in a small space becoming very valuable. So the key now, therefore, is town planning and railway planning. When you plan the railway, you're doing your town planning at the same time. Different types of community services and accommodation stock onto railway land. So making one piece of land that we don't just waste it, that it will only be used for railway, but sitting on top, underneath and adjacent to it, we're building a community for the people. Railway is for the people, and it is not just transportation. So therefore, we have this idea of transit-oriented development, i.e. people would follow the railway, rather than putting a railway to follow the people. Nowadays, we build railway lines into area formerly not accessible, and you start building new communities, and you're making it very accessible for people. And I suppose it is my ambition that I'm able to roll this out and go to other countries around the world, that they're able to use this very, very successful example of Hong Kong and try it out in their densely populated city.
Part of Hong Kong's charm is the memory the city evokes of a unique bygone era. But when that era ended in 1997, Hong Kong faced a challenge. How should it reposition itself?
You know, traditionally Hong Kong, it was obvious why it had an advantage. It was a gateway to mainland China. It had this fantastic port. And then China opened up. So I'm wondering, was there ever a point in that history post-opening up where Hong Kong found itself at a crossroads, not sure where it was going to go?
I would say that every single city globally, there's always a period of transition. But with the continued open up of China, the role of Hong Kong has also evolved. So rather than being the biggest port, in China, Hong Kong, our role has now become a gateway, for China to go internationally. And this is a very important role, right? Given the size of the Chinese economy, the size of the China population, right? Right now, Hong Kong is the only international sort of gateway, for China to go overseas.
So you had that moment of transition. You had to look where you were going to go. You couldn't rely traditionally on what you'd done before. And then you said, okay, that's for us.
Correct, right? I think for Hong Kong, financial market will continue to be a very important pillar for Hong Kong. But you look at Hong Kong as well, during the past few years, we've also evolved into many different areas as well. For example, innovation and healthcare. So you can see Hong Kong, right, despite financial being the most important pillar, we've also diversified and broadened in terms of our activities.
A very important priority of the Hong Kong government is to develop the northern metropolis. The northern metropolis will be divided into various themed zones, and with the view that this will integrate further with parts of China, be it in logistics, be it in technology.
Oh, right. So it could be finance, it could be medicine,
Correct.
It could be technology, whatever.
Correct.
You'll have these sectors that will work for it.
So we are building new communities to specially design and cater for these development, and they will all be connected by railway. The town planning of Hong Kong will not and does not stop. Currently, MTR is embarking on 4 new railway lines, construction of 4 new railway lines within Hong Kong. So we are on I would say, another phase of expansion.
Can I ask about another big picture, and that is how you see Hong Kong going forward in the next 10 years? Where is this place going to be?
Okay, Hong Kong is now part of the mainland China's overall plan on what we call the Greater Bay Area.
Yes, tell me more.
Okay, so Greater Bay Area comprised of 9 mainland cities, Hong Kong and Macau. So this is what I would term as the Greater Bay Area. It has a population of over 100 million people. And I think going forward, what we are looking at really is how we can have closer cooperation and closer integration, thereby leveraging on each of the city's skills and labor and also resources to make a much bigger economic hub.
Also in the Greater Bay Area is the island of Hainan, which, as we learnt in a previous episode, is being fast-tracked to make its own significant mark in finance, tourism and trade.
Is it your goal to not only match but perhaps beat similar places like Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong?
I think we're aligning with the more mature practices.
Oh, I think you're more than aligning. I think you want to beat them.
What our goal is definitely to build Hainan into a very mature, very attractive destination for global investment and trade.
What about other competitors like, Hainan, nipping at your heels, low taxes, no tariffs? Where do they sit in the great scheme of things?
Okay. My view is always that competition is always a positive, because when there's competition, that means there's a market demand, and there's a market to include more than one player.
Right.
I think the Highland positioning is very different than Hong Kong. So I think the market for China is big enough to accommodate more than one location. And I think for Hong Kong, the location of it being in the Greater Bay Area allow us to really be the best position to capture activities in that area, right? Whereas for Hainan, it's kind of serving a different part and different segments of that potential of the market as well.
Well, it sounds like Big Brother is telling Little Brother, watch out.
I don't think so. I don't think it's big or small. Yeah. But I think we are both friendly siblings. Yes. I think the benefit of Hong Kong and the Greater Bay is that it offers tremendous growth opportunities, right? The population growth, the economic growth means that from business-wise, there's also a number of opportunities for growth as well, right? So all these opportunities, I think, create a number of attractive investments situations for the Australian investors.
Being so bullish about future opportunities is a welcome sign of confidence in an uncertain world. In these turbulent times, John Lee is a steady hand. He knows you control the things you can, and you deal wisely with the things you can't, like American politics.
And will the Trump presidency change things?
Well, I think the prompt will change many things. I mean, everyone is talking about the Trump 2.0.
Yeah.
I think the good thing is that, I mean, the U.S. now, you have a very clear Republican regime for the next 4 years, right, for both the president as well as for the Congress.
By which you mean it takes a lot of the uncertainty out of how things
Yeah,
are.
so I think obviously there's a very clear alignment of at least a political aspect, right?
Yeah.
I think the U.S. will very much focus on the U.S. domestic growth.
Yeah.
And I think Trump is very much a person that are very much focused on the U.S. domestic economy. So I think he will do a lot of things to make sure that the economy will continue to stay strong, while manage the inflation accordingly.
Do you see that as a good thing or as a rivalry?
No, I think it's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
It's not a wrong thing, right? I mean, every single country should focus on their own domestic economy.
Yeah.
I think a strong U.S. obviously means a strong currency as well, which is good for the U.S., right? I mean, how Trump will do in terms of China or the sort of global policies is still a bit unclear.
Yeah.
So I think people is going to continue to watch, when he comes to his new presidency, what kind of actions he will take. But I mean, overall, I feel that at least you have a unified U.S. political platform, which I think for things they want to get done will be a lot more straightforward than it was in the past.
But clearly everyone's thinking about what's going to happen next.
Correct.
For me, and I hope for you, these were fascinating interviews. Two people whose considered views about this historic place were informative and illuminating. But more than that, they spoke from the heart. Their passion obvious.
You do need to love your job to give you the energy every day to get out of bed. And of course, I love my job.
Well, thanks for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Can I end where I began with just asking you, now that I know you're a true Hong Konger, just what it is about this city that gets you up in the morning and makes you feel enthused? What is it that you really, really, really like about Hong Kong?
I think it's energy that you feel in Hong Kong, right? I mean, every time if you wake up and you walk up in the street, you just see there's so much energy in the city across different aspects, right? And this energy is really what makes Hong Kong being very different and being very dynamic.
Well, there's a lot of energy and dynamism in you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Nice
Thank
talking
you
to
for
you.
your time, John.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye. See you later.